Hello, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So, as you can tell, I have a sexy little cold. So, I have a sexy little voice today. So, I hope that you enjoy it. Somebody was asking, like, oh, you record podcasts. Have you ever had to record while you have a cold? Yes, in 12 years of podcasting, indeed. So, this is one of those times. So, I'm here today to talk about my coach program. I have it relaunching in October of this year. And it's a certification that is a deep dive. What makes my certification different is the level of techniques, the level of care, the level of mentorship that also is included. I've heard of different certifications where it's like just an online thing and like you're one of like hundreds of people. That is not the case with mine. Mine is October 11th through the 18th, and it's 8 intense soul stretching days, and it's going to be around the Bradenton area. So if you're interested, keep listening. If you're kind of like, yeah, I don't know, well, I'm still going to share some valuable stuff here today. But I wanted to address kind of like the problem I see with most coach trainings, because I find that my coaches that graduate have a really unique skill set and they're able to kind of go in and start making money right away. But a lot of coach certification, it's like scripts. They show you models, sales funnels, and just kind of like how to hold space on the surface, which, I guess can be valuable, but like you're not going to be able to get into people's deep subconscious belief systems with a script. You're not going to be able to really connect with them and see the micro expressions and be able to determine that thing that you just said is directly connected to a subconscious belief system that you have that is running the show from the background. That takes a certain level of self mastery. And that's why I spend 8 concentrated days kind of like digging deep, getting in there. And then there's a 3-month mentorship and then a 3-month mastermind. After that, you can also continue the mastermind so that you have continued support. So it's not just like, all right, hitting you on the butt, sports, and now figure it out. It's rather like the way that I've evolved my programs now is like you have continued support in a community, because once you open up your mind and expand yourself and kind of let go of these self-sabotaging beliefs, you change. And so it's important to have people around you who are also growing and evolving and putting in the work, because it does make a huge difference. So if you go through this program and then you don't have support, what happens, or any program really, is you can fall back asleep again, because there's too many things in this life that are kind of pushing you in the other direction. So anyways, some of the further issues that I see with these coaching programs is like, if you have not addressed your own shadow, like how in the heck can you guide somebody else, because you're not even comfortable with your shadow? And if your inner child is still throwing tantrums and like, running your triggers, how are you going to, without projecting on your clients, guide them through it? So like I've been doing this work for 20 years, and I spent years as a yoga therapist watching like really brilliant coaches that maybe didn't have the proper training just crash and burn because they didn't heal their own emotional architecture. You're your first client, and that's why I take so much time with that segment. So I built something different. It's more than a curriculum, it's a catharsis. It's not just tools, it's rewiring. And then it's continued support to reinforce the rewiring. So by the end of the 8 days together, you won't just know how to coach, you're going to be transformed as a different person, and then you function from there with top-notch belief systems, with, connecting with your inner child and actually knowing how to parent them. So, and then you have a skill set that people are actually going to want to pay money for. So, and I show you that whole process. Like, I'm your mentor. And then we have another person that mentors as well, who is a graduate of my program and a successful coach. So some of the key pieces that I walk you through are, there's many different pieces, but the first one is the CLEAR formula. So the CLEAR is my signature framework for moving a client from stuck to free in just a couple of minutes. this is important because not only is it a tool that you want to be able to share with people, but like when you do an introductory session, like you want to have tools that are going to produce results quick because you only get a limited amount of time with people, and everyone's spread so thin. Like not everyone, just most people are pulled in so many different directions. So unless you have something very valuable to offer and quick, you're going to lose them. Now, I'll tell you that I've done many different kinds of therapy, and there was one therapist where I think we're like 5 or 6 sessions in, and like, $300 sessions each. And we had gotten nowhere. All she was doing was scribbling notes the whole time. And when I asked, like, okay, you said after session 3 or 4, we were going to get some kind of game plan. And she's like, oh, yeah, yeah, we'll do that next time. Didn't do it. She was, I mean, I could kind of see like she was spread too thin. She wasn't present, and she didn't have her own tools to practice to keep herself open and clear and connected to consciousness. What I teach is how to connect to that consciousness, and then like what to do when you connect to that consciousness and all that stuff starts coming up. It's like drilling for the Amrita, the elixir of immortality within. And then like all the other stuff comes up, like the hala hala, like the poison, if you're familiar with Hindu creation stories. So, when we go within, there's stuff that comes up. It happens in my yoga teacher trainings. It happens in my coach certifications. To a lesser extent, it might happen in my retreats, but we kind of tone that down because I also remember, Erin, it's a retreat. So I'm all about, personal evolution, but it's also like you have to have fun. So, you have to know how to deal with that stuff when it comes up. Like I show you how to deal with that. We actually go through it and I show you, and then we have continued support to where we are actively digging for that stuff. That is the best thing that you can do. If you don't know how to regulate your nervous system, if you don't have tools that you know how to pull out and apply in different situations, and ones that are tailored per like your emotional bandwidth, then you're just collecting a bunch of books that are going to sit on your shelf that you paid exorbitant amounts of money for. I show you something that you can actually use, not just on yourself. You'll be your first client. You transform. You're going to be able to sell your services because you believe in them, because you have had an impact on yourself. And then you teach it. And we don't teach for permanent clients. That's another thing too. We teach people to be resourceful, resilient. We teach them. We take them through it too, right? Because sometimes in the beginning when we're learning the tools, it's like everyone wants relief. And I'm all about like expediting that process, right? So, people, if they come for coaching, they have a problem. It could be like a high tier problem, like, oh, I'm a fellow coach and I want to know how to build up my business, but I have like a block around like how to organize that, etc. Great, coaching can be wonderful for that. I have a problem where I sabotage my relationships over and over again when they get too secure because it feels unfamiliar to my nervous system. Also a problem, different kind of problem. And then you have the people who do a lot of self-analysis who are like, I learned about inner child and shadow work, but like, I don't know where to begin. Can you as a coach help me? Yes, because we have shadow work, we have inner child work, we have avatar work, we have dropper technique, we have clear formula, we have emotional processing, subconscious belief system navigation, relationship toolbox, which is one of my favorites. I did actually a bunch of podcasts on this, but I haven't done it in a while. And sometimes I offer so much because I'm kind of a Renaissance woman that people might forget all the things that I do, but they just see me like glowing and shining and singing and releasing albums, and they're like, how does she do it? This is how I do it. so if you're interested, again, keep watching, keep listening. So the inner child part of my program is probably something that makes it unique because it's not, I don't teach it as theory, I teach it as direct experience. So you'll meet the younger version of you that is still making decisions today. And when we can meet that version of ourselves that's still making decisions today, we can have compassion rather than look at ourselves like, I don't know, thinking of all the choice words that a person can use towards themselves. But if we turn the lens more nurturing and more compassionate, and we recognize that we all have this sort of like inner child within, then we can talk to them that way. We can encourage. Like, I'm for the first time living on my own, and I've used my coach tools. That since having that spaciousness, there's been not codependency, because I'm not fully that. And actually, one of the titles of my podcast first, like, was working on codependency. I think everybody has some codependent tendencies, and I found some that came up. And the spaciousness allowed me to use my tools to be able to work on those codependency issues. And so I was able to start fostering a dialogue that is so compassionate and so strong and so sweet. It's like mommy martial arts. And she's so wonderful. And so, yes, I will talk to myself in my home sometimes out loud, sometimes driving. But it's, I've never had quite that level of dialogue with myself externally, because I have this space to do it, and it's all about me right now, which is nice because I'm in service to so many people. So that inner child work is direct experience. It's not theory, it's not concept, it's not templates, it's not worksheets. I mean, we have some of that stuff, but it's your direct experience. When you speak in that way, people believe you because you're telling the truth. You're telling it from your heart. And that's why when I speak, there's passion behind it. There's a fire. There's a tejas, an illumination behind it, because I've walked through the fire. So, that's another reason why the course is so successful for people, is because that inner child can be running the programs from the background. Another thing that we do is I teach you emotional journeying. So we track emotion not as data and not as drama, but you'll learn to ride the wave without getting crushed by it. And it's kind of amazing, but I guess it's maybe a little sad that we are not taught how to hold space for our feelings. We're certainly not taught how to process them, and we're definitely not taught how to trust our body, that our body knows what to do with that frequency. It's like the breath. If you just breathe, relax, what happens is the tension starts to fade. And if you can combine that with, because not just that, you have to get the mind on board, drawing awareness down into the area where you feel the stuck emotion, compassionately holding a container of space around there, and then reintegrating it with your body, because it's like frozen, stuck energy. Pain, at its very simplest essence, is stuck energy. So you got to get the energy moving. That's one part. And then you have to trust your body that it can alchemize it, that it can transmute it. It's just energy. It just has a particular flavor. So we just churn it and change it into a different flavor. Or sometimes we release it, and hopefully in a productive way. And that's, again, another thing I teach you. It's not theory, it's not concept. It is direct experience with your issues. And I'm comfortable, and I teach you how to be comfortable with all different expressions of emotion. So the next thing that I talk about in the program is the dropper technique. So this is one of my favorites, and when I ask people about techniques, like, this is one of the first ones that comes up with my graduates. So it's a micro intervention that dissolves limiting beliefs pretty quickly. And we do that by going into the emotion, or into the emotion from the point where you're already saturated in it, like an uncomfortable emotion, and then we drop in little drops of a positive feeling, so that you can adjust the frequency. And rather than going from black to white or white to black, or from love to hate, hate to love, because a lot of times you're like, oh, I hate this person. And if I was just like, all right, well, just love them. And they're like, oh, I never thought of that before. It's more of like, okay, what thoughts are creating that sense of hate? Like, can we look at that? A lot of times it's projection, or there's a past wound that it's touching, right? So once we start to dissolve and make contact with the emotion, we start to understand it. We have intimacy with it. That is what the dropper techniques allows us to do, is have little micro doses, little microdosing of intimacy with our emotions. So that's one of my faves too, and that's one of my graduates' faves. Another one that we have is unconditional love and compassion. So that is done through yogic technology, because when we come present, everything's okay. Love naturally flows from it, because it is our natural state. If we have things that are kind of blocking it, then it doesn't flow as readily. We also have the relationship manual where you get to look at the rules that you have that are unspoken in your relationship, reveal those, and then be able to, question them and see, like, is it reasonable for me to believe that, every single day my husband should blah, blah, blah? Or is it reasonable that my wife should blah, blah, blah? So the next one is shadow work. Shadow work is learning about the parts of yourself that you shame, that you hide away, that you put in a cave, and that you don't want to look at, and trying to make friends with that part of yourself. So if you can learn how to do that, then you more fully integrate into yourself and you find strength and love that you didn't realize that you had, and that nurturing dialogue. Boundaries. Boundaries save relationships because without boundaries, people don't know. We make assumptions. Oh, they crossed my boundary. Was the boundary spoken? Well, no. Was it even acknowledged whatsoever on your part? No. Well, it's not a boundary then. It's just a thought. It's just, I hope you read my mind. I hope that you read my body language for people who are not trained by it, who are not connected to themselves, holding them to unreasonable standards. So, boundaries is being able to clarify it within, being able to verbalize it, have a consequence, and make sure that it's set from love. And then sometimes you have to fulfill the consequence. And hopefully you don't have to do that too much, but certainly it is part of boundaries. Cultivating goals and outcomes. That is a huge part of coaching too. So you will get to the point where it's like, if you dream it, you can do it, baby. But a lot of people don't allow themselves to dream. And so we ask targeted questions, and again, connecting with the vessel within, and then being able to determine, what do I want? If you don't have clarity in your business or in your life, the universe cannot properly help you to receive it. You cannot manifest it. If you don't know, how's everybody else going to know? If you have a vague concept of what you want to be and do in this life, then you're going to get vague results. So the more that you have clarity and you can write it down, connect with it, and then I give you, again, yogic technology. This course is, again, blending yogic technology, cerebral tools, like somatic work, just like all these different techniques together. So you have about like 40 different techniques by the time that you leave. And then comes skillful application on yourself every day and then on others. So it's a lot. And it's not for people who are wishy-washy. It's not like, this course is not for if you're a flake. This course is not for if you're like, no. This course is for people who have either suffered enough to where you're like, you know what, enough. I want to change, and I trust in this person. I've seen them change. I've seen them grow and evolve. And I want to be with the teacher that leads by example. This course is for people who are willing to get a bit uncomfortable, but trust the process. It is so important to have a teacher that can guide you, and that trust relationship when things get uncomfortable. Uncomfortable does not mean anything has gone wrong. We've been taught to like coddle. We've been taught to like keep ourselves in this little, baby bird state. Sometimes, like after a big trauma, like you need that. I get it. Like I lost my mom in 2021. Like I needed to be in a little cocoon. And that's okay for then. But then you need to grow out of it. You need to fly. Because otherwise you're going to get stagnant, you're going to get stuck, and you're going to kind of start imploding on yourself in little ways. We need to have, as human beings, appropriate challenge. We need to have connection. We need to have ways for which we grow and progress, because otherwise we'll fall into these traps of like repetition. That's how the mind works. And some of that is good for the nervous system. Like you don't have to think of, oh, when I get up out of bed in the morning, I have to stand and put one foot in front of the other and going down the stairs. Like your body knows what to do. You say walk, you have to even say it and you'll start walking. Get up, you'll get up. Walk down the steps. For most of us, you'll be able to do that. So, but we do as human beings need to challenge ourselves appropriately. And so if you're the kind of person who you're up for a challenge and you want to change, you want to change things in your life, like you're willing to go there, just know what you're signing up for with me. So I am loving. I'm a charismatic presenter. I read the room because I'm very present with you. so I can adapt and adjust. I coach every single person in my program so that you're going to get that for sure. And I support you. So then you being willing to walk through your own fire, that's my kind of student. So that's why I've worked with people who have had eating disorders, who have had addictions, who have had some level of trauma, in their life, and they have not been able to, resolve it. So being able to do that is important. So I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. It is, again, it's one of the most precious things that I do with my time is this program. And not only is it the program, but it's like the follow-up care, and every single day is from 9 to 5. Like we do yoga, we do breath work, we do coaching. I teach you techniques and then we apply it. And then we build. Yeah. So I teach you your first technique, the clear formula, and you coach with each other, you coach yourself, you start to get comfortable with it, and then you start to unlock things. Usually the third or fourth day, I start to see things shift. People's eyes change a little bit. It's more like luminous. There's more light. There's more love because your natural state is coming back into balance. The nervous system is calming down and the body is coming back into balance. So 8 days can change your life. If you're interested, reach out to me. I'll talk you into it. And you can go to thriveyogafit.com. You can see the course up there. I believe it is also up on erincoach.com. You can also reach out to me, Erin at erincoach.com, and we can have a conversation about it. In fact, if you sign up for my coach course, we will have a conversation because I want to make sure that it's a good fit for you, that it's a good fit for me. It's in October, and again, 8 days. So yeah, if you're considering it, if you're like, you know what, now's the time, this is the year, 2026 is my girl, it's my dream, come and sign up. I'll be waiting for you. Ready to join the circle? Come join. Namaste.